Hi, this is Gretchen with Molten Mud Studio, and today I'm going to show you how to make these cute little jingle bells using the 2-inch bowl press from www.imakestuff.art. I pretty much start with super fresh clay. I like to create my ringer first, and what I do is just grab a little piece of clay, just a tiny amount, roll it into a ball and wrap it in some tissue paper, and that will just help to keep the ball from sticking to the inside of the big bell part. So that's my first step. I have my 2-inch ball press that's plenty patinaed today. I made about 30 of these things today. Just adding a little cornstarch. And maybe I should put a little on the presser also. But I'm just using, what is this? Rocky Mountain Clay Speckled Buff, I think. I just got it in the mail, so I'm not exactly sure. I can't remember the name of it, but I just grab a ball. Roll it into a decent sized ball. Stick it in your press. I like to, on these bigger presses, they're a little harder to press the bigger the press gets. Like we have 3/4 inch up to 3.5 inch. The 3.5 inch do not work the same. They're a lot harder to push that amount of clay. So I like to use a slab with those, but with these 2-inch presses, I like to put the ball in and then get it started, and that just saves wear and tear on my hand when I'm pressing down. And then I use the plunger and wiggle it around and press it out until it gets about like that. And I just trim off this excess. I got it a little oblong. So you can see that I did not get my plunger lined up correctly. It's thicker on this side and very thin on this side. So what I do is I take this extra little piece of clay that just came off and just take a piece of it and press it into the ball or into the bowl. Work it around with my thumb. This does seem like an extra step, but it's still, in my mind, it's still faster than making little pinch pot bowls and sandwich them together. So now it's a little more even. You can even it out a little more if you want. The inside of the bell, it doesn't have to be smooth, obviously. And then you release it. Oh. I like to use this first, my little scoring tool. Rip around here real quick. Okay, there's the first half of the bell done. Just remove the outer ring, kind of gently give this a twist to release it. So there's the first half of our bell. And at this point, I take my little ringer and I set it inside my first half because I have sandwiched them together and got them all done and been like, oh, I forgot to put something in there. So I like to do that first. So let's do the second one, second half. Get it pressed in there with my thumb a little. Like I said, this clay is super, super soft and fresh. Work it around with the plunger and get out the excess. And then remove the plunger. And add a a little more clay to the inside because I see that one wall is a little thinner again. It seemed consistently doing that to me all day, so I think it's more user error than tool error. Give it a trim. Score it. And then I'm just going to add a little water. Remove the ring. And take out the other side of my ball. So there's the other half. And you can see that it has this groove or this mark left by the press, and I like to line the two of them up because that helps me when I create the bell. It helps me line up my where I'm going to put my 4 holes in my ball. It gives me 4 lines, quadrants, which makes it quite nice actually. Slipping this here together. And super wet and squishy. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up these lines after it's sat for a little while. Otherwise I just distort my ball. So I already have my, I already have some made from earlier today, but I don't have my tools. I will be right back. And I'm back. I grabbed my tools. I use an X-Acto knife, a 4 mil hole punch, and an 8 mil hole punch, both of which I got off of Amazon. And I use these to put the holes in the top of my bells. I use the 4 mil to do the string hole, and I use the 8 mil to do the side hole. Okay, so I have these balls that I've had set up for the day. I made about 30 of them today. What I like to do is I punch the hole in the top of the ball first, and you can kind of see the 4 lines. Let's see. This one doesn't really show that well, but you can kind of see this line and this line coming across and gives you a center point right here. So I'm just gonna punch the hole for the top of my bell for the hanger. And then I'm gonna use these lines as my guide to put the side holes in. I go down the ball about a little over halfway. You can kind of see that. And I'm going to punch my first hole. And then I'm gonna find my next line and just kind of eyeball where my next hole needs to go. They don't have to be perfect, but oh, I left that piece of clay in there. Hopefully it'll come out in the end. If not, it'll just have an extra ringer. Okay, so there's my 4 holes. You can see it's about a little over halfway down the side of the ball. And next I'm gonna cut 4 lines connecting these 4 holes with my X-Acto knife. And I like to go just off to the side of the hole, a little bit, just a little bit off to the side, and try and bring it around and connect it to the hole on the opposite side. So there's my first cut. And my second cut, I'm going to cut right next to it and leave about 1/8 of an inch between the two. This creates a nice gap for the bell. And then I'm gonna go ahead and leave that piece in there as support for my bell. Do it again. Kind of off line a little bit. A reindeer stepped on this bell. It's a little bit squished, right? Just blame it on that. Okay, so there are my 4 cut marks connecting each hole. I'm going to take my needle tool and remove this piece. Oh, before I do that, let me show you one more thing. I like to bevel these edges here, but I also like to bevel the hole in the side. So I use the 3/4 inch plunger from www.imakestuff.art. And I use that to just press into the hole here, kind of give it a wiggle around. And it makes this nice little beveled indent where the hole is instead of making it look sharp cut like that. So just buzz around here and indent my holes while I still have that clay in these pieces, because as soon as you remove this clay, these pieces get very flexy and they have a harder time supporting themselves. So, okay, so there's my little beveled holes using this little plunger. Super versatile. Okay, let's finish removing these. Get the rest of this out of here. So there I have my cut slices through my bell, and I'm just going to use my X-Acto and bevel these edges. I was using the X-Acto to bevel the holes also, but found that little gem and thought I would share. I'm kind of trying to support my these pieces as I cut, because they're so darn flexy and they like to bend in on themselves. I didn't have any problems after they dried. They didn't bow or warp or anything like that, so I was pretty lucky that way. Also, when I glaze my bells, I like to make sure I don't get any glaze on the inside. I brushed them all. I'd love to dip them all, but I can't, but I did brush them all. I got glaze on the inside of a couple of them, and it had a couple balls stick. Like 2 out of 10, I couldn't get the ball loose, but anything else that stuck, I just stuck a needle tool in there and just tapped it and it came loose. And there we go. There's my beveled edges. All right, so there's a beveled edge with a little beveled hole. So when I glaze these, when I fire these, I take a piece of canthal wire and put a little loop at the end and thread the wire up through this hole, and then just make a little bend and hang it on canthal rods in my kiln. So I can glaze the entire ball. I just make sure I clean out that hole, any glaze out of that hole really well. And once I take it out of the kiln, I just snip the top of this off, and the other piece just falls down through the ball, and you can kind of just shake it out. And I think I had one that's still stuck inside one of them, but other than that, they were pretty easy to remove. But I did have a lot of people ask me how I glazed the entire thing and fired it in the kiln without having it stick. So that's how I did that. But there are the jingle bells made with the 2-inch ball press from www.imakestuff.art. This little beauty here. And I hope you make lots and lots of jingle bell ornaments for your friends and family. And yeah, I hope you have a Merry Christmas. Thank you.